What's up, guys? That guy with the pencil here. You know, I really like this fight, especially more than this one. And you know what? We aren't all negative here. Let's praise some good Boku no Hero, for all the same reasons that I ragged on Boku no Hero in the past. Let's talk about how Endeavor vs. High End succeeds in consistency, character, theme, story, and basically everything else. Let's go! Guess what? This fight doesn't break any rules. Great! And guess what else? It does what I wish Horikoshi would do more of. Take an established power and expand on it logically within a fight and the current narrative. It makes sense that Endeavor can hover with his flames. He's been training with his quirk for years, and jet propulsion is an actual thing. We've seen both Endeavor and Shoto concentrate their wild flames down to a point and blast it off. We always knew Endeavor had a limit to his flames. That's the whole reason he was an abusive father in the first place. Every point we had with Endeavor in the past was expanded on, not broken. The great thing about Hawks is that we literally had no idea about his quirk. He was just recently introduced. We knew he had wings, and that was it. So, you couldn't break any rules when there weren't any rules established. Perfect! Horikoshi didn't have time to contradict himself. All of Hawks' power set was just an explanation of his quirk, Fierce Wings, which is an expansion rather than a contradiction. And finally, High End is once again an expansion of the Nomu concept. We already knew that there were many of them and that they all varied in quality. The best we had ever seen was the Nomu that matched All Might many chapters ago, but we hadn't seen a Nomu in a long while, and while many were captured, we knew that wasn't the only one factory. So, a Nomu with even more powers, even more features, and especially sentience was only an eventuality. Once again, no rules broken, only expanded upon. Now, you may wonder, why do I think consistency is so important? Well, for me personally, whenever something inconsistent happens in a story, it causes something called narrative dissonance for me. It rips me out of the world that was established and makes me ask questions the story does not want me to ask. Rather than enjoying the beautiful animation, stellar voice acting, and brilliant chant composition, I'm sitting there wondering what the heck happened, if it's going to be explained or not. There are a lot of important videos out there that explain or disregard inconsistencies as something unimportant. However, if you have to explain an issue with something not presented in the narrative, or your own personal idea, or just have to downplay the issue, it's still a problem. No story is perfect, I'll admit that. In almost every narrative I've read, watched, studied, or discussed, I've had moments where I've double-taked at something in confusion. However, it is honestly a narrative's main job to do two things: establish my suspension of disbelief and maintain it. I'm able to accept that there's a 15-year-old with superpowers who's strong enough to destroy a mountain with a single punch. I'm not able to understand when that boy's superpower suddenly changes randomly with no explanation. Trust me, I don't mind mystery. I don't mind unanswered questions. What I do mind is breaks in a narrative because it breaks the tension and breaks my immersion. The less immersed I am, the less I care. It's sad, but true, and that's why Endeavor vs. High End is great, because my immersion was never broken. I was in the fight from beginning to end, leaping from development to development, with my mind only being blown in the proper way of me going, whoa, that's crazy, and I never thought of that, rather than my mind being blown in the wrong way of, what the heck is going on? That's great, the consistency is fantastic. What's next? Oh yeah, that's right, themes. This arc takes basically everything I like about Boku no Hero and slams it into one nice, quick, compact section that encompasses a lot of important points for the plot and characters involved. And yes, you may be wondering, it is my favorite arc. Themes of herohood and importance of being oneself are brought up and highlighted in a way not seen since the Stain arc many episodes ago. All Might was never really a person. Sure, Toshinori Yagi is a human being with a quirk, but no one else really saw him as a person who was fallible. He was much more of an ideal, a wall, maybe a symbol of peace rather than a person in all right. So, when he fell, society and the world itself was thrown into chaos and turmoil, because the next man in line was not All Might in any way, shape, or form. Endeavor was the number 2 hero, but that was just an empty title. Just as all the rankings beneath number 1 were empty titles before All Might's fall. There is a very specific reason we did not get the true top 10 list until after he fell. Because the other top 10 didn't really matter. Who cared if you were top 10? Whoever wants to be the number 42 hero in the business? No, you wanted to be the number 1. And finally, when the position opened up, the hole left in its place was so vast it makes the reader, the world at large, and especially the characters within the arc question, what did it mean to be a hero? Hawks does this directly, pointing out that he, Edshot, and Best Jeanist are all ranked up higher than Endeavor in approval ratings. He questions the system, and the overall fake nature of the heroes beneath him, their safe approaches to the world at large, their work, and questions their ability to save the world with the symbol of peace gone. He even references how the only people enjoying their basic, heroic responses would be Stain and his supporters, and false hopes are going to be instilled in people for the hero's own security. Even with Endeavor's confident statement after Hawks' little speech, Endeavor is forced to question himself. What did it mean to be a hero? To please everyone, make everyone happy, or protect them as he was? Did he change, stay the same, evolve, regress? He had no clue what to do. He was stuck in this heroic limbo where he got his goal, but the world at large and he himself struggled to understand what a hero was. Then High End came out of nowhere and slapped the definition of hero into Endeavor's face. Endeavor realized what a hero was when he finally snapped, finally broke. He stopped caring about his limits, appearance, image, and decided to give his everything and more to defeat High End to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. Then, onto the other theme, understanding oneself. Endeavor and Hawks were the two main pilots for this theme. Hawks called out all the other heroes for being fake for the sake of an image. Will that image make certain people happy? Yeah, of course it will. But it will also support the ideology of someone known as the hero killer. But regardless of whether Stain was right or not, how he carried out his message wasn't. People shouldn't try to be the next All Might. All Might was never a bar to reach, it's impossible to. So people should stop trying and be a hero in their own way. That's how Hawks did it, or so it seems. He never really cared for conventions. He opened up his own agency at 18 and soared through the charts until he was top 3 in the first half of his first year. So if he can do it, the other heroes have no excuse not to. Hawks in this arc is simply just Hawks. We know not of his heavily manipulated backstory based on making a perfect hero, so he really does drive this theme well. Endeavor, the other driving force behind this theme, is shown to be torn. He wants to be the next symbol of peace. He wants to be the next All Might. He tries to smile, be supportive, he tries everything he isn't. A fan of him calls him out on this, and this confuses Endeavor. He doesn't really get it at first. What should he try to be? The world needs a new symbol of peace. All Might is gone. When the High End shows up and slaps some sense into him, he realizes it. The world does need a new symbol of peace. Emphasis on new. Endeavor never was and never can be All Might, and thusly Endeavor shouldn't focus on that. He needs to change. He is no longer the number 2 vying for the number 1 spot. He needs to take all those years of frustration, training, rage, and pour it out into doing his job in a way that only he can, burning up to save people. And by doing that, by realizing his true self, he succeeds. Even the High End manages to drive the theme. He is a monster looking for a fight through and through. He only wants to fight strong heroes to prove his supremacy, and he's doing it the best way he can, through causing damage and destruction for heroes to stop. By having High End fully understand himself and act as that driving force against Endeavor, who didn't fully understand him, allows for a nice counterbalance to the theme that only emphasizes the idea even further when Endeavor wins after he discovers who he truly is. And guess what? You know that teamwork theme in the Overhaul arc? It's actually used really well here. Endeavor wouldn't have beaten High End without Hawks' legitimate support. Hawks wouldn't have beaten the Lesser Nomu or saved all those people without Endeavor's legitimate support. It was a situation where two people viewed each other as equals and worked together to overcome a single issue and adversary. High End was strong, unbelievably so. Endeavor even straight up admits that in speed and power, the High End is beyond him. However, combined, Endeavor and Hawks surpassed him with combinations of their powers and teamwork, and the High End lost. It taught Endeavor the important lesson that he isn't alone in this world of heroes, and that he does not need to do everything by his lonesome. Great, all around. But what about character? Oh wait, yeah, that's great here too. Whoa, bro, that's crazy. It's almost like Horikoshi knows how to keep characters consistent. Oh wait, he can, he just chooses not to sometimes. Come on man, you're an amazing artist and storyteller. I loved Ogadamakizu. You work great with characters there, especially your main ones. What happened to Midori? Okay, no, we're staying positive on this one. So, Endeavor is most likely my favorite character in My Hero Academia. And I do expect to get attacked for this. I know a lot of people don't like him for what he did, and yes, everything he did to his family was horrible, and he should honestly be in jail for child abuse and spousal abuse. However, what I like about Endeavor so much is that now that he has no pillar standing before him blocking his sins, they weigh down on top of him. Every single time he approaches his children, look at him not as the hero he wants to be seen as, not the strongest, but the monster he is. A man who broke them and himself for years, only for that impossible goal he wanted to reach to crumble before him. And like a dog chasing cars, he had no idea what to do when he finally caught one. The number one. You know what the great thing about this is? Endeavor breaks. He has absolutely no idea what to do. He wanders around like a lost puppy after getting over his initial depression from the unnatural succession to number one. He even breaks down and goes to the one person who he thought would have an answer for him. Endeavor questions All Might and what it meant to be the symbol of peace. And the greatest thing about this is that All Might had no real answer for Endeavor. All Might knows that he and Endeavor are fundamentally different people, and thus he cannot help Endeavor become him. Endeavor never was and never will be All Might. And of course, this did nothing but make Endeavor more confused. And like I mentioned earlier, he just tries new things. He tries being the invincible symbol when pressured by Hawks in front of the other heroes. He tries to be the nice guy and only gets criticized for it. He tries being everyone but Endeavor, and it's a perfect mistake for a character like Endeavor to make. He's so focused on beating All Might that even after being told not to be All Might because he could never be, he still tried it anyway, because Endeavor always did have a one-track mind. However, the true Endeavor was ripped out of him by the character known as High End. The true Endeavor isn't an infallible symbol. He isn't some invincible wall against the tide of evil. The true Endeavor is a hard-working man with a goal and a dream and a job he'd sooner die before not completing. He is a man who never gives up for better and for worse. There was no symbol, but there was a man who would get the job done. The scar Endeavor got over his eye is a permanent mark of awakening. He has now understood the truth and must live with it every day, and look at it head on. He is not perfect and he never will be. He has the sins that shall never leave his back, but he must keep pushing forward, no matter what hurts or slows him down. Enji Todoroki, the #1 hero, is a man whose life is a constant endeavor of his own making, and that is great. The fight complements this new evolution of the old Endeavor by killing the High End, the former Endeavor. The man who hungered only for strength and power and supremacy, not for anything true or valuable. Hawks is a character that is mainly just set up in this arc. I do like him, and I think he works well for the story of the arc. He breaks down all previous conventions of top herohood, not being from UA, not starting off small, and being too fast, and that is what makes him great. His character is what proves that with the loss of All Might, society and all its heroes must change, adapt, and evolve. Heroes must not stay stagnant and safe anymore. They must be efficient and precise while supporting the society they work for. Hawks displays this a lot with his casual conversations with Endeavor while stopping criminals. Hawks is the future, the new way, and helps the old way catch up to the new way in his fight with the weaker Nomus and helping Endeavor with High End. Finally, High End. I'll admit, he's not much of a character. He came out of left field and no one was ready, and that's why his character works perfectly for a character duo like Endeavor and Hawks as a team specifically. Both men are two characters, while being different from the old hero world, are still a part of it. Hawks is bringing a new way based on Endeavor's style of getting things done quickly and efficiently. Neither of them were ever truly pushed before. They were always stronger than their adversaries. So, a left field threat like High End that comes out of nowhere with a power level that neither hero had dealt with before was just what both of them needed. They needed to know that the world was ever evolving and ever changing, that they would be punching above their weight class from here on out. He helped both of them evolve. This is just a personal preference of mine, but a mad fighter like High End who's constantly on the hunt for a good battle is just something I like. And as I mentioned in Endeavor's breakdown, High End is practically the whole Endeavor. A good fighter, strong, and power hungry. He's only concerned with supremacy and nothing else. His specific character is built to be destroyed by the new Endeavor to prove an evolution. All three main characters in this fight and this arc fit perfectly for the narrative. They feed off of one another, and it's a great way to integrate characters into a narrative and storytelling that promotes character growth for the two protagonists involved. It's all around great. Now, note something. This fight had no crazy nonsense like Infinite 100% One For All, or Fighting with Broken Bones, or 1,000,000% One For All. And yes, I know it was not actually 1,000,000%, but Midoriya beating Muscular is still stupid. And guess what? Despite all of that, this fight still had a cost. What did it cost to defeat the High End, however? It is the death of the old hero world. No more pristine images. No low man standing at the peak of humanity and acting as a wall. If you'll notice, All Might never had a mark on him for the world to see from any of his battles. Even after fighting All For One, he was never visibly marred for the public to see. Endeavor, though, in his first big battle to prove himself as the #1 hero, he has a long scar down his face, on the same side that his son has. Society now knows that heroes are human, heroes are fallible, and not only society knows that, but villains know that. There is a massive reason that all the big villains arc happened after this arc. Everything else except All For One was so small scale in the past. The cost of defeating the High End. The cost of defeating High End was finally brushing away any last remnants of the former hero world, making everyone wake up to the oncoming danger, and that is amazing. Seriously, real flat out props to Horikoshi. He is great at creating a world, a society, maybe not rules for the world, and keeping those rules consistent. That has always been a bit shaky, but his societies, his places that he develops, work fantastically. For the personal cost to Endeavor, I sort of wish he had just flat out lost the eye, but the scar is good. It's personal and a permanent marking that mirrors the ever-evident one on his son's face that represents the failures of Endeavor as a father and a person. Now everyone sees it, and everyone knows about Endeavor's humanity, and despite his prowess as the new number one, he's still just a man who could fall and get hurt and die at any moment. That's a lasting cost that always shows to the public, to Endeavor, and to the reader. Also, Hawks' cost of being the loss of his wings is major enough to seem like a problem at the moment, and that works. It's a good light punishment for a good light character within the arc and fight, because I reiterate, everything that happened in this fight makes sense. Honestly, you didn't need a cost for something like this. This isn't Super Saiyan, this isn't Sage Mode, this isn't Infinite 100% One for All. Honestly, the only person that was seemingly stupidly broken for no reason was the High End, and that's why he needed to be outplayed and defeated by Seymour. And guess what? Endeavor tries and fails to be stupidly busted alone, and then he is forced to concede and work with Hawks. Endeavor couldn't be the strongest by himself. He needed help, and that help was Hawks' cost, and it is great. There didn't necessarily need to be a cost. I cannot emphasize that enough, but there was. Honestly, the biggest cost since All Might himself fell, and that is great. A great cost for a great fight with characters with great themes and amazing consistency. What could possibly be left? Whoa, what's this? An extra section talking about the fight itself? Why wasn't this an overhaul of E Midoriya? Well, because I said it clearly in that video. The fight between Overhaul and Midoriya was so oddly simple for the possibilities that it had. No diverse terrain movement, no fun playoff for Midoriya and Overhaul's oddly similar unstoppable personalities, just an unfair fight to an unfair fight that isn't really visually interesting, and just turns into a hit the thing really hard contest, which I really hope we were past after the fall of All Might. Endeavor vs. High End though? Bro, this fight is wild. For me personally, techniques, environment, and the caliber of fighter all contribute to the interest of a fight, and this fight has all those factors in spades. 1. The techniques. My Hero Academia has always been weird about techniques, because the power system is not a universal system like Ki or Chakra or Magic, and thus each character essentially has their own power system, just on a smaller scale. Super moves are just creative extensions of a character's quirk, and that is why this fight is so intriguing to watch. It goes to naturally introduce and utilize different techniques. From all of Endeavor's Flash Fire Fists, and especially his Prominence Burn, the colors and the power behind each attack and the logic behind it are just more interesting to watch and are a great expansion of Endeavor's quirk. Hawk's techniques are just his wings and feathers, and honestly, they're pretty wild too. The great thing is that they're established before the big fight between Hawks, Endeavor, and High End as fast-moving little feathers that can do some damage. So, when you see Hawk yank one out as a large feather sword that's actually able to casually cleave through whole Nomus, it's amazing. It's a cool way to use his wings that I've personally never seen before. The fact that he can control each one and manipulate them so well is just a testament to Hawks' skill as a character, and this is just a really cool visual. I'm sorry, it's awesome. High End, the goon. High End doesn't have any techniques. He's just a physical monster with all his quirks, and it's great because it just makes him a wall. Muscle augmentation drastically increases his strength and gives him great control over his whole body, which leads him to his self-save through decapitation. Super regeneration to promote his durability and repair any damage he takes, also allowing self-decapitation to be a good move in the first place. Shoulder-mounted jets to fly, and transforming arms to allow for flight and creative extensions in combat. Top it all off with the power to make himself even stronger with power, and storage to hide extra Nomu in the back, and he's a great combination of combat-based quirks, some of which on their own have proven to be very effective in the past. Muscular himself and the original Nomu were massive threats that pushed their combatants further beyond, for better or for worse. Roll them into one, and then add some more, and of course they're going to be interesting to watch in a fight. For the environment, it is perfect. Unlike some randomly abandoned super hole where there is no civilian that can get hurt, like with Overhaul's fight, High End attacks on a populated area with countless possible victims and a cityscape that gives Endeavor and Hawks double the trouble. They not only have to fight the High End himself, a being who has proven himself to be a massive threat to the two heroes combined, but they also need to fight the collapsing building, the mess of civilians, and the constant need to limit the damage. This mixes the two parts of herohood, both combat and protection. The environment also allows for a great place for society to see Endeavor for who he truly is, as countless cameras are watching the event. It's great, and the environment even forces tactics out of both sides of the battle. Speaking of tactics, the caliber of fighter. You know why I don't like Midoriya? A couple reasons. Actually, a lot of reasons. They're going to get their own video. But one of my big ones is that his fights are always just boring to watch. Despite being set up as a character who analyzes his opponents and breaks down their abilities to counter them, he never does this. I think he does it slightly against Gentle, but I have issues with that fight that will probably get talked about in their own video. What is great about this fight is that all three of the fighters in the battle are forced to think and creatively use their minds and powers to fight. I'll address High End first because his tactics are the most simple, yet at the same time super interesting. High End has multiple quirks and stacks them on top of each other to create new techniques and abuse his body for his benefit. He's able to slam Endeavor through buildings casually due to muscle augmentation and power, and he doesn't seem to care about the damage he takes due to his super regeneration. The moment Hawk shows up as a threat to his fight with Endeavor, he plays to Hawks' heroic nature by releasing weaker Nomus that pulls Hawks away from the battle so he can fight Endeavor head on. When he sees that Endeavor is about to vaporize him, something he knows Endeavor can do off their initial interaction, he rips his own head off and throws it at an angle where Endeavor can't see it, so the High End can blindside him post-regeneration and disable Endeavor. High End learns from every interaction he has with Endeavor and Hawks, and matches to accommodate. Endeavor can physically harm High End to a dangerous degree with his fire, don't risk the head. Endeavor's more powerful attacks are linear, throw away the head to avoid them and blindside him. Hawks is fast enough to be an annoyance and is getting in the way, destroy the building and release the lesser Nomu to distract him so Endeavor can be focused on. Endeavor pierces people with concentrated fire, pierce him with concentrated arms. High End thinks and evolves mid-fight in a way that honestly is never seen before in My Hero Academia and isn't seen until Shigaraki's evolution. It's only the heroes who grow sometimes. High End is honestly a battle madman, having no fear for bodily harm as long as he can fight, and he learns from every interaction. This is what I want more of. I like a fight that has a good push and pull to it, rather than a fight that just has one side pushing and then instantly the other side pushing. Secondly, I'll address Hawks, and how he relies on my favorite dynamic in any fight ever, speed. Hawks knows that when it comes to raw physical might, he isn't really the person you turn. Secondly, I'll address Hawks, and how he relies on my favorite dynamic in any fight ever, speed. Hawks knows that when it comes to raw physical might, he isn't really the person you turn to. However, when it comes to raw speed and efficiency, turn to Hawks immediately because this man snaps. Building is collapsing, instantly send feathers around to get all the people out, first so no one dies, even if it means you have to fall from the sky. Then, to prevent damage to the area below, work with Endeavor to slice the building apart and finally control each individual feather to safely move all the pieces away. That's all done, support Endeavor. Oh wait, High End's dropping Nomus, blitz them and slice them in half while keeping an eye on Endeavor, finish them fast enough to hop right back into the battle with the High End. Nomus too durable to slice apart? Alright, fine. Send feathers to fuel Endeavor's final burst to combine both speed and power to outdo the High End. Bro! Hawks thinks as fast as he flies, and that clean efficiency is the basis of his entire character and fighting style, and his moves and tactics, while so simple, are a great extension of his character and story purpose. Finally, we have Endeavor, and Endeavor is a madman with his tactics and fighting process. He always puts up this wall, this limit, and like Hawks, he tries to do everything before reaching that limit. He flares up immediately, burning High End alive. However, this is where we see Endeavor's biggest flaw. He always fights with a cap, and this cap is what leads Endeavor's... biggest flaw. He always fights with a cap, and this cap is what leads to all of Endeavor's family problems. Endeavor's heat limit is an established mechanic of narrative, but it's always been an excuse, a reason not to go further, to remain efficient, and to not overtax himself so he can always move on to the next mission. It's reasonable to assume that Endeavor could always push his limit, it's just that he never wanted to, and assumed that pushing past his limit and risking himself would not be worth it. But the High End forced Endeavor to push further. After 2 interactions, Endeavor instantly figured out the gap in speed and power, and he just had to flip the script. He needed to use his advantage, the ability to burn away the Nomu, all the way to its peak. That's why Endeavor focuses on quick execution, along with doing his job. At first he wants to interrogate the High End Nomu, but the moment it regenerates and slams him through a building, all pretense of letting the threat live goes out the window. He is forced to do double, attacking and defending, attacking the Nomu and defending the people on the ground. Hellspider to bisect the building and the Nomu. To keep the battle up high and away from civilians, he uses propulsion to stay in the air despite his constant raising temperature. Then he notices the Nomu's affinity for lunging in head-on with a disregard for his body, so he baits it into another attack to burn it away with Prominence Burn. However, he gets outplayed by the Nomu and is forced to take damage and realizes that he has a limit when it comes to firepower. Then, he has the truth of the situation smack him dead in the face. Tears right through his eyes. And he understands the mantra he hates so much and realizes that he must go further beyond, or else the flame of the number 1 hero will die out so quickly. So he bursts beyond, not caring about his body or his limit as he dives in head first. He uses the Nomu's propensity for impaling himself to tie himself to it. To prove himself and push, he realizes that he must forget all pretenses of holding back, all pretenses of doing this alone, and letting the threat persist, and he rushes Nobu high into the air and roars for Hawks' final push as he vaporizes the Nobu beyond its regeneration limit and wins. This is the peak of My Hero Academia, all around, from the consistency, the themes, the character, the cost, and the fight. This fight, this arc, all of this is fantastic. My Hero Academia can be good. It can be great. Horikoshi is a fantastic writer and artist, and this is the proof of it. He just needs to remember to go beyond and flare up into a better arc every single time. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the video. I really do like My Hero Academia, I promise, and there are other successes that I will talk about from the series. And if you like what you saw, maybe, just maybe, stick around and subscribe. And smack that little notification bell. I don't know what the next one of these is going to be. I still am going to do the failure of Midori versus Bakugo as a rivalry, so that's going to be the next one, but the next success, I have no real idea, so tell me down in the comment section below what you'd like to see me analyze. But regardless, thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with a Pencil, writing off.